After last week's slower season premiere, in my opinion, Star Wars Resistance kicked back into gear with its second episode, A Quick Salvage Run. The Colossus arrives at Dakar shortly after the events of The Last Jedi. The Resistance base is nothing but a burning crater, which means the space station is unable to refuel or resupply. So Kaz recruits the pirates to run over to what's left of the First Order dreadnought to find some coaxium so they can jump away before running into any more trouble. Unfortunately, Tam is pressured by Rucklin to turn over her comlink and the message Kaz sent her last week. Of course that Draco Malfoy-looking turd is with the First Order too. Kaz's message helps Captain Pyre track the Colossus down, and they attack the station until it escapes into hyperspace. This episode was so much better than the season premiere for me. I did understand the need to slow things down and focus on Tam and Kaz though. We needed to see where they were both at mentally so that we could build that conflict here. Without ever seeing each other face to face, that's the current relationship driving the show. Tam is obviously still conflicted over joining the First Order. She wasn't planning on turning over her comlink until Rucklin caught her listening to Kaz's message and forced her hand, which tells us that she is feeling this urge to listen to it multiple times. At the end of the season premiere, she just shut it off angrily, but she's kinda coming around. I'm sure she's still a little angry, but most of this episode had the people around her telling her that she should feel angry. We didn't actually see any anger from her. I saw more fear. She's afraid to go against the First Order now that she's stuck with them, but she's also afraid that her friends will be killed and she has to hide that. I don't think she's hiding it very well because Pyre wants to, quote, recondition her like the other stormtroopers. Tierney wants to avoid that for now. I'm guessing because Tam will be more useful in tracking down the Colossus if she isn't fully brainwashed. But last season we learned about brain scraping, so that's a threat for Tam that can be used against her down the line. Kaz is in a similar predicament as Tam because he is also hiding something from many of his friends. Niku and Sonara currently know that he contacted Tam and that his message could have allowed the First Order to track them down. Sonara is the only one savvy enough to know that's absolutely what happened, but Niku and Kaz aren't willing to accept it yet. Yeager and Doza both express concern at being tracked as well, and I don't think they'll take kindly to hearing that Kaz has been sending messages to the enemy. The second Battle of Dakar was fun and exciting. I like how the show is able to combine elements of both The Last Jedi and Solo into one sequence. We're in the remains of the Fulminatrix dealing with coaxium that is getting more and more volatile by the second. There's a lot of tension there knowing that the coaxium could just blow up and wipe out everyone around it. Of course, we know that won't happen with 17 more episodes of the show, but I liked being able to take these various things the movies have created and then use them together in the show. Not to mention reaching Dakar now gives us a pretty good idea of where we are in the timeline. I'd guess this is happening alongside The Last Jedi right now. The Resistance probably hasn't reached Crate yet. I think the Colossus will receive Leia's message at some point during the first half of the season and be ready to respond. How cool would it be if the last shot of the show before we saw Episode 9 was the Millennium Falcon docking with the Colossus? I'm expecting by December 20th we will be caught up with the time of The Last Jedi, and then after The Rise of Skywalker, the second half of the season will show us some of what happened in the gap between the movies. A Quick Salvage Run wasn't just a fun episode on its own, I think it set up a lot of plot points for the future of the show. The pirates are now citizens of the station, but they aren't quite ready to fit into society or help for the sake of it. The station is starting to run dangerously low on all kinds of supplies, including food and water. We've got Kaz keeping secrets from his friends, and Tam keeping secrets from her new superiors. Oh, and Kaz's family is still alive, which I think could have some serious implications. They just happened to be off of Hosnian Prime when it exploded. Kaz's father just happens to know that bounty hunters could be after Resistance members. Hopefully Senator Ziono is on the right side, but this all seems awfully convenient to me. I also think the Aces flying out to protect their home sets up next week's episode very well. They comment on how good the TIE pilots are, and it's pointed out that they're actual fighters, not racers. The Aces aren't trained for combat, except for Griff, probably. They're good pilots, but they're not soldiers. Episode 3 is titled Live Fire, and the synopsis reads, Kaz officially joins the Aces, as does Yeager, who trains them to become better combat pilots. Meanwhile, Tam learns what it's like to be a First Order pilot. I'm so happy I was much more into this episode than the season premiere. We had a little breather with Into the Unknown, but A Quick Salvage Run was basically what I was hoping the premiere would be. I want to keep that tension up, the Battlestar Galactica feeling of the First Order being on their tails as a constant threat, the desperation of keeping the Colossus running and supplied while protecting the civilians on board. I've already compared this season to Battlestar Galactica a lot, but there really are so many similarities. I had to laugh at the Aces and their combat landings as they re-entered the station because the Viper pilots of Galactica had to do that more episodes than not, and the show just used the same shot over and over. Anyway, I liked this episode and I hope you all did too. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.